खुद मुनाफिक का पता चल जाएगा। नाराए हैदर लगा कर देखना, नाराए हैदर लगा कर देखना, तुम मज़ा खाना सजा कर देखना। हो अगर जन्नत ज़मी पर देखनी, हो अगर जन्नत ज़मी पर देखनी, करबला एक बार जाकर देखना। देख तुम मज़ा खाना सजा कर देखना, हाँ अपनी किस्मत आज़मा कर देखना। तुम मज़ा खाना सजा कर देखना। चलो चलो। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया क्यों है। बेवतन हूँ तुम्हारी मेहमान हूँ, बेवतन हूँ तुम्हारी मेहमान हूँ, इस कदर मुझ पे सख्तियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया क्यों है। भाई बेटे निसार करके मैं कोहे रंजो अलम से गुजरी हूँ। भाई बेटे निसार करके मैं कोहे रंजो अलम से गुजरी हूँ। फिर भी मुझसे ये पूछते हो क्यों, फिर भी मुझसे ये पूछते हो क्यों, मेरे होठों पे सिसकिया क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया क्यों है। मिलके पढ़े। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सिया। ये जो बची है जख्म कानों की, मेरे दामन में मुँह छुपाए हुए। ये जो बची है जख्म कानों की, मेरे दामन में मुँह छुपाए हुए। तुमने इसको तमाचे मारे हैं, तुमने इसको तमाचे मारे हैं, और छीनी ये बालियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। एक अंगूठी थी दस्ते सरवर में, मेरे नाना की जो निशानी थी। एक अंगूठी थी दस्ते सरवर में, मेरे नाना की जो निशानी थी। उस अंगूठी को लूटने के लिए, उस अंगूठी को लूटने के लिए तुमने काटी वो उंगलियां क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। काश अब्बास मेरा रह जाता, उसके बाजू कलम नहीं होते। काश अब्बास मेरा रह जाता, उसके बाजू कलम नहीं होते। तब बताती मैं तुझको ए जालिम, तब बताती मैं तुझको ए जालिम, गिरती तुझ पर ये बिजलियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों। मेरा अकबर, मेरा अली असगर, मेरा अब्बास और मेरा कासिम। मेरा अकबर, मेरा अली असगर, मेरा अब्बास और मेरा कासिम। गर मरेती पसो चुके अब तो, गर मरेती पसो चुके अब तो, फिर ये मकतल में गर्मियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। शाम वालों नबी की बेटी हूँ, मेरे शानों में रस्सियाँ क्यों है। चलो
बर मोहम्मद वाल मोहम्मद सलवात। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं, मेरे असगर आजा। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असगर आजा। लोरी अरमानों से भरपूर सुना लूं मेरे असगर आजा। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असगर आजा। तीर के आगे मेरे लाल तुझे होना है। देख कर तेरी हंसी जुल्म ने भी रोना है। जो तरीके हैं लड़ाई के सिखा लूं मेरे असगर आजा। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असगर आजा। पहले अल्लाह का मैं शुक्र बजा लाऊंगी। देख कर खून तेरा लाल मैं मर जाऊंगी। मैं तुझे मौत की हिचकी से बचा लूं मेरे असगर आजा। सब मिलके आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असगर आजा। तुझको एक बार दफन बाबा तेरे कर देंगे। फिर तुझे नेज़े सकीफा के वहाँ ढूंढेंगे। तुझको एक बार दफन बाबा तेरे कर देंगे। फिर तुझे नेज़े सकीफा के वहाँ ढूंढेंगे। दश्त की गर्म हवाओं से बचा लूं मेरे असगर आजा। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असगर आजा। तेरी मासूम सकी ना को पिला के पानी कल तेरी प्यास बुझाएगा अली का सानी। मैं तुझे देख के प्यास अपनी बुझा लूं मेरे असगर आजा। आज की रात तुझे गोदी में सुला लूं मेरे असगर आजा। आल मोहम्मद व आल मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु
बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, याद आए सकीना को, याद आए सकीना को, अलमदार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, बाबा की कमर थे वो फूफी जां की रिदा थे, बाबा की कमर थे वो फूफी जां की रिदा थे, बाजू न थे लोगों मेरे, बाजू न थे लोगों मेरे, गमखार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, सर तश्त से बाबा का चलाएगा खुद ही, सर तश्त से बाबा का चलाएगा खुद ही, फैले नजर आएंगे, फैले नजर आएंगे जो हकदार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, सज्जाद के सीने ही पे सो जाए सकीना, सज्जाद के सीने ही पे सो जाए सकीना, खुलवा दें चचा जान जो, खुलवा दें चचा जान जो बीमार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, बांधे जो सितमगर ने गिरफ्तार के बाजू, याद आए सकीना को, याद आए सकीना को, अलमदार के बाजू, सलवा।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is the 20th of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Our heartfelt condolence to Imam of our time and the household of Prophet. And we'll be doing the Azam Majlis inshallah. We have the honor of having Sheikh Nabila again at our center to share this moments with us and to recite the Majlis for inshallah the 20th of Imam Hussain. The program will continue after the announcements with the lecture by Sheikh Nabil, inshallah. We'll have a full niyaz after the program, so do stay, and then we have the Jama Salat, inshallah. Next program will be the Thursday Shabe Juma program regular, which is at 7:30. Next Thursday 7:30 Shabe Juma program. Then we have Juma Salat at 1:20. And on next Sunday, that's the 7th of Safar, which is the Shahadat of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We have the Shahadat Majlis, inshallah, at this center at 6:30. Next Sunday is 6:30 for the Shahadat of Imam Hassan, inshallah. And we have a visiting speaker that week also. Sheikh Hassan Duago will be the speaker. As usual, I've been announcing for Muharram donation. Anyone interested for credit or debit card or check cash, whatever, you can see the donation desk. And any other information if you need regarding the membership, you can reach any of the members and we can help you out. Now with your loud salawat, I'll request Sheikh Nabil to start his majlis par Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allah.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأرضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين. روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين. ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، قال المعصوم عليه السلام: كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shuhada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. The one that has given us opportunity to sit in the remembrance of Imam al-Husayn and all of those that gave their lives in Karbala, those that gave their lives on the way to Kufa and from Kufa to Sham. This whole journey is a journey that can be titled under one main heading, and that is Karbala is the greatest love story ever told. The love story between Abd and Ma'bud, between servant and master, between Khaliq and Makhluq, between the created and the creator. Karbala is that one place where someone puts aside all of their own wants and desires and looks solely at the wants and the desires of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyid al-Shuhada gave everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was nothing left for him to give. The whole way, sacrifice after sacrifice, Imam al-Husayn gave in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as the narrator of the Maqatil say, that with every sacrifice, the face of Imam al-Husayn became brighter and brighter. And you are say because now he was ascending, although already at the level of fana, but now he was becoming more and more fani within the divine light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at that point, with nothing left, he recites his famous lines of poetry. For the last time he rides out, إلهي تركت الخلق طرا في هواك وإتمت الأيال لكي أراك وإن قطعتني بالحب إربا إربا لما للفؤاد إلى السواك. My Lord, I've left the whole of creation for your sake. I've orphaned my children so that I may see you. And even if the swords were to come and cut me to pieces in your love, لما للفؤاد إلى السواك, my heart would turn to none but you. And so the lover rides out and he begins to fight. And the beloved replies, Ya ayyatuha an-nafsul mutma'inna. Oh, the tranquil soul, return back to your Lord. He comes down from the horse to the ground, his head in sajda. Ilahi radam baradak wa tasliman li amri. La ma'bud as-siwak. Ya ghiyath al-mustaghithin. Oh Allah, I am satisfied within which there is your happiness. I have submitted to your command. I find none worthy of worship but you. Oh, the one that hears the cries of the one that cries out. Karbala is the greatest love story ever told. Karbala is the pinnacle of Tawheed. And that's why the Urdu poet so beautifully puts it, Tawheed ki chahat hai to fir karbo bala chal, warna ye kali khul ke khili hai na khilegi. Tawheed na masjid mein na masjid ki safon mein, Tawheed tujhe shabbir ke sajde mein milegi. If you want to see Tawheed, then look at that sajda of Imam al-Husayn. At the height of giving everything for the sake of Allah, still, Ilahi radam baradak wa tasliman li amri. Even now, Husayn has nothing to give, but still, everything that is remaining with him, he will give in your way. Karbala is the height of ubudiyah, the height of tark al-dunya. The last letter that Imam al-Husayn sends from Karbala to Medina. In Bihar al-Anwar, Alama Majlisi mentions this letter. Says it was just 2 lines, nothing more. He says, from Husayn ibn Ali to those of Bani Hashim that remain in Medina, كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل والسلام. 2 lines the Imam sends to the people, to the youth of Bani Hashim or those of Bani Hashim that remain within Medina. You should know كأن الدنيا لم تزل. The dunya is something that is made to be annihilated. It is something that is wasting away. وَكَأَنَّ الْآخِرَةَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. But it is the akhirah that shall remain forever. The dunya has an expiry date on it. But the akhirah is that which shall never expire. And this is why when one works towards the akhirah, I said a couple of nights ago in Bathurst as well, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Hadith Qudsi, He says that, O son of Adam, أَنَا حِيَّ الَّذِي لَا يَمُوتُ, I am that living that shall never die. أَتِعْنِي, obey me, and I shall make you the living that shall never die. When you attach to Him, He makes you like Him. And so in Karbala, Imam al-Husayn was reminding everyone that this dunya is fleeting. It is but a moment. And there were many people along the way that came but did not have the tawfiq or the ma'rifah to join Imam al-Husayn. This whole system of majalis, this whole mission of Imam al-Husayn, it is about tawfiq. It's about opportunity. Allah giving opportunity to an individual. There are those that want to come to the majlis of Imam al-Husayn. They leave their homes with the niyyah. They come, but their tawfiq only extends as far as the car park. They never come inside. Not those that are volunteering, but there are some that will stand outside while the majlis is happening, smoke cigarette after cigarette, and they'll be like, oh, missed the majlis. Inshallah, doesn't happen here in other senses. Here, if someone stood outside, you'd have no one inside. So, alhamdulillah, you need everyone inside. So, but in other places, you see people are standing outside, they're having cigarettes, they're talking, majlis going. Their tawfiq from Allah was only to that point. Then there are those that have tawfiq from Allah to enter, but they may sit there on their phones the whole time, or distracted in their own minds. And so the words of wisdom that are being uttered, not by myself, but by others that said on the member, are just going over their heads because their minds are elsewhere. So the tawfiq is only to come into the gathering. And remember, at each of these points, there is thawab. Even just the niyyah of coming to the majlis of Imam al-Husayn. Because the majlis of Imam al-Husayn, it is like the ziyarah of Imam al-Husayn. It is you renewing your ahad. Just that intention to go towards the majlis of Imam al-Husayn, you're leaving your home, there is thawab, there is reward in it for you. But one's tawfiq only extends to outside. Another's tawfiq is towards the inside of the hall, but doesn't have the ability to understand the nasiha. Others come inside, they listen, and they're able to absorb. But from those, then there are only a few that have tawfiq to act upon it. And then there are those that may not come, but may turn up as with all best intentions. They wanted to be there on time, but only made it for niyaz time. Yeah? And so their tawfiq was only up until the niyaz, or for the niyaz of Aba Abdullah, which in itself is also thawab, also shifa'ah. But everyone's tawfiq is different. بِقَدْرِ مَنْزِلَتِهِ, based upon the manzila that they have. See, all of these things are not, they don't happen just randomly. Those brothers that were there in the series at Bathurst will remember that I said in Bab Tinati wal Mithaq, the realm of the covenant, when the covenant of Ali Muhammad was taken from all of existence, those that accepted that wilayah quicker were given maqamat in the dunya. Those 72 with Imam al-Husayn were not random. They weren't random. Hatta the ulil azm from amongst the 124,000 prophets were ulil azm. Why? Because they were the first to accept the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And so they were given that. And so they were given that maqam of ulil azm. And even amongst the believers, those that accept. And so these moments of tawfiq hark back to an age-old ahad and covenants and mithaq that a person made in that realm. And so when they come here, there are some that didn't adhere to that covenant or didn't accept that covenant straight away. Took them some time. So in this dunya, it takes them more time to come towards Imam al-Husayn. They have to push themselves more. But for others, it's just adi, it's normal. They just do it. It's part of their life. This all goes back to that bab, to that alime mithaq, to where that covenant was made with your souls. So some people's tawfiq is only and only to outside, some is for inside, but then there are those that get tawfiq from the whole gathering. Not only the thawab of leaving, not only the thawab of entering, but the thawab of understanding and the thawab of the azadari and the thawab of the niyaz. Because there are some that will come and listen to majlis. Time for matam and azar comes, exit stage left. They'll leave. Yeah? Because, whatever. The tawfiq doesn't extend as far as the azar of Imam al-Husayn. And at every point you look at it, it's tawfiq. Tawfiq min Allah. Whether you can cry or not, whether you do buka or not, whether you can even do tabaki. We tell people sometimes, we're like, look, if you can't cry, if you can't wail, then the hadith says it's okay. Do tabaki. At least lower your head. And still people just look at you. Yeah? You tell them, you're like, even if you can't cry, the hadith says do tabaki. Lower your head. And if you do that out of respect for Imam al-Husayn, wajibat lahul jannah. Jannah becomes wajib on you. Says if you can't cry, at least lower your head. But even at that point, some people don't have the tawfiq. They just look at you straight in the eye. These are all varying degrees of tawfiq. We don't see them. These are various hijab that are covering that true essence of a person. They don't know. The words don't take effect in their heart because the heart has become rusted. The heart has become corrupted. And so that connection to the malakut of the alam has been severed. Al-qalbu yataraddadu bayna al-mulki wal-malakut. Your heart, spiritual heart, is what takes you, which connects you between the mulk and the malakut of the alam to the esoteric realms of this alam. So that purity of heart is essential in being able to understand truly what the nature of the majalises and the nature of the dunya as a whole is. So Sayyid al-Shuhada pens this letter. كأن الدنيا لم تكن وكأن الآخرة لم تزل. The dunya is that thing that has been made to be fani. From the moment that you reach a certain point, the moment that you are born, there is only one thing that is 100% certain about your life, is that it will end. It will end. Now whether you choose to live for the dunya and the end be upon the dunya, or your end be upon the akhirah, is the human being's own prerogative, where he chooses to fall on that spectrum. And the attachment to the dunya, the more a person attaches themselves here, the more ghafil they become, the more of the tawfiq is taken away from them, the more the nasiha does not have an effect on them. They could do tawbah, they do istighfar, they go, and one of the signs of your istighfar being accepted is that tears fall from your eyes, or at least your heart becomes saddened. One of the signs of when you go to ziyarat and you say salam to Imam, one of the signs the Urafah say that the Imam is replying to you is when you start to shed tears from your eyes. But there are some that can even go there and still not have the ability to cry, because the heart has become so hardened, that mercy of tears no longer manifests itself in that person. And the reason for that is this attachment to the dunya. One of its manifestations is this dryness of the eyes. The hadith of the Holy Prophet, he says, جمود العين من قسوة القلوب. Says the dryness of your eyes is from the dirtiness of your heart, the rust of your heart. وقسوة القلوب من كثرة الذنوب. And your rusty heart is as a result of your excessive sin. وكثرة الذنوب من نسيان الموت. And your excessive sins are because you've forgotten that one day you need to die and answer for every single thing that you have done. وَنِسْيَانُ الْمَوْتِ مِنْ طُولِ الْأَمَلِ. And your forgetting death is because of your long, far-fetched hopes. وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ مِنْ حُبِّ الدُّنْيَا. And your long, far-fetched hopes. You've set a master plan for yourself, for your whole life. I will go, I will get a degree, I will get married, I will have this many children, I will buy a house, I will have a car. And all of this in your life. And nowhere in there have you factored that maybe one day I will die. Have I prepared my coffin? Have I prepared my will? What will I leave behind? How will my state be distributed? But my tulul amal, my obsession with living with these long, far-fetched hopes attaches me so much to this dunya that it makes me feel immortal, and I don't even think about death. He says, وَنِسْيَانُ الْمَوْتِ مِنْ طُولُ الْأَمَلِ. Your forgetting death is because of your long, far-fetched hopes. وَطُولُ الْأَمَلِ مِنْ حُبِّ الدُّنْيَا. And your long, far-fetched hopes is because of your love of this world. وَحُبُّ الدُّنْيَا رَأْسُ كُلِّ خَطِيئَةٍ. And the love of this world is the root, is the head of every single sin that you will commit. Everything goes back to the love of the dunya. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Everything goes back to that love of the dunya, that attachment to it. The dunya is such that it is the lowest form of existence. The dunya daniya. Dani means something lowly, past, something so low. It is the lowest form of existence. Hence why your taste here is restricted. Your sight here is restricted. Your hearing is restricted. Your smell, your feeling, everything is restricted because you have been placed at the lowest level of existence here. And that's why they say when a person dies, speak softly around the dead body. Touch it gently. Because now they have real senses. Because now they've gone into real existence. This is not real existence. This existence is but a shadow of true existence. But when one ties themselves down to this realm and they can't break it away, they begin to fall into states of ghafla, of inattentiveness. They're unaware. And the Holy Quran says, Al-Hakum al-Takafur. The multiplicities of this world, they distract you. Hatta zurtum al-maqabir. Until your head hits the stone of your grave. Kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Thumma kalla sawfa ta'lamun. It is only then you shall know. Surely it is only then you shall know the reality of your existence, the multiplicities of this realm, your children, your wife, your work, your home, all of it distracted you from your one aim, and that was to ascend, to get closer to God, to shed away the hijab that stands in front of you and Him. Ilahi habli kamal al-inqita'i ilayk wa anar absar qulubina bidiya'i nadariha ilayk. Imam says in Munajat Sha'baniyah, my Lord, habli kamal al-inqita'i ilayk. Enable me to cut off all of those things that distract me from you. وَأَنِرْ أَبْصَارَ قُلُوبِنَا بِضِيَاءِ نَظَرِهَا إِلَيْكَ, so that I can reach that point of being able to view you with the eyes of my heart. Those eyes piercing through the veils that separate me from you. And as I pierce through them, I reach. فَتَصِلَ إِلَى مَعْدِنِ الْعَظَمَةِ, and I reach and get connected to that center of your azama, to your greatest manifestation. The realm of this world has been created to distract, but at the same time, it has been created to train you for real existence. Dunya maza'atul akhirah. The dunya is the garden for the akhirah. You put in the hard work here, and you sow it there. And you sow it here, you reap it there. The dunya is a training ground. You know, athletes, they go and they'll train at high altitudes. Those that want to do it properly. Those that don't, just do blood doping, which is illegal now. But those that want to go and train properly, they go to higher altitudes. And there they'll train because the air is thinner, forces their bodies to create more red blood cells, etc., etc. It fuels their muscles a lot more. So they will go to high altitudes and they will train, so that when they return to a lower altitude, they have an advantage. This world is the other way around. This is the lower altitude. Imagine a place of extreme gravity that you're having to work within. 10, 15 times the amount of gravity. How strong would your muscles be? How more stronger would your bones be growing up in that? It gives you strength. Now when you leave that 15 or 20x of gravity and you go to a place with normal gravity, how much stronger would you be? This dunya is that place. 15, 20x of gravity, holding you down, pulling you down. But now that very same weight that is pulling you, you can use it to build you. You can use it to build you. And when you use it to build you, when you reach true existence, which is the akhirah, then at that point, within the akhirah, you will ascend faster than anyone, because the work has been done here. The work has been done here. Imam al-Husayn in Karbala has a line. He stands there and he addresses each one of them. Says, "An-nas abidu dunya wa din la'iqun ala al-sinatihim." Says, mankind is a slave of this world, and the religion is but a taste on their tongue. When it suits them, when the religion suits them, they keep it. But وَإِذَا مُحِسُّ بِالْبَلَاءِ, but when they are tested with difficulty, قَلَّ دَيَّانُونَ, then very few of them are religious. Then very few of them are religious. This dunya has been created as a test for an individual. Says, "An-nas abidu dunya." Mankind is a slave of this world, and the religion is a taste on their tongue. He's telling who? The army of Yazid. No, he's telling everyone. I look at my own life. I look at my own life. How much of the deen do I accept? How much of the deen am I like, oh, this doesn't make sense to me, let's get rid of it. This isn't according to what I think is correct, and I think this is more correct. You know, many people are doing that. The Maraji give some sort of fatwa. I doesn't know, I think, you know, my opinion is this. Look, who are you to have an opinion? With respect. In regards to, oh, why is it that the Quran does this? When it's good, it's fine. Then you're like, oh yeah, religion is fine. But the moment it goes and says something that I don't like, my nafs doesn't like, then I'm like, no. This needs reformation. This part needs reformation. And this is what Imam al-Husayn is saying. That these individuals are abid dunya. And the religion is just a taste on their tongue. They're just keeping it there. When it suits them, they like it, they keep it. But the moment they get tested with any sort of trial, be that as a physical trial or a trial that comes in the way of the religion, that the religion says you need to do this, then at that point, they're like, no, I don't agree with this. And that's what Imam is saying, قَلَّ دَيَّانُونَ. Then very few of them are religious. Say, yeah, but we live in Canada, we need to adapt. And so we have to change and we have to develop and we have to look forward as if, and you know this whole statement, if you understand aqa'id and you understand ilm al-kalam, this is a statement of kufr. Because someone says, we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to go forward. The religion needs to learn to, we're living in Canada, these are modern times. You're saying that Allah didn't have ilm of this time. And thus you have called into question the ilm of Allah. Ilm of Allah is one of His sifat thabutiyya. You question His sifat thabutiyya. You have now caused an issue in your understanding of Tawheed. You've entered kufr. Then day and night we're like, this, that, this, no, this needs to change. I don't agree with this. Fast forward. And it's the army of Yazid killing the hujjah of Allah. Because that's the reality. That's where it goes. Being an abd of the dunya goes to the point of where one will kill the hujjah of Allah. Will kill the hujjah. All of those that stood across from Sayyid al-Shuhada, all of them recited Quran. All of them recited Salah. There were some of those that were the hafiz of the Holy Quran. But one by one, they were all brought out. Shurayh Qadi was the judge during the Khilafat of Amirul Mu'mineen in Kufa. Amirul Mu'mineen himself, when someone brought a case against Amirul Mu'mineen took it to Qadi Shurayh and said, you should be the judge on this case. And don't look at me as the Khalifa. Look at me just as a normal person in this courtroom. That was that same Qadi Shurayh. And now, Ibn Ziyad offers him a few thousand dinar and he writes a fatwa, killing Husayn ibn Ali is wajib and ibadat. الناس عبيد الدنيا. It's just like that. Ibn Ziyad came into Kufa and they said, what are we going to do? He said, don't worry. What names do you have? Because there was a spy beforehand. Spy comes, they send him, Ibn Ziyad's slave. He goes, a couple of days he's watching out, he sees Muslim ibn Awsaja. He starts praying next to Muslim ibn Awsaja, 2-3 days. Then he says to Muslim ibn Awsaja, do you know where Muslim lives? I have some money for Muslim ibn Aqil so that he can gather weapons. And we have other weapons from him. And so Muslim thinks, I've seen this guy, he prays, has that tawazu, we can trust him. So he takes him to the house of Hani. And there this man sees Habib is there, sees all of these people. And he's slowly inside his aban noting the names of everyone in the house of Hani ibn Urwa. And then when Ibn Ziyad comes, he goes and he gives the list to him. Ibn Ziyad, when he looks at the list and he sees, okay, Shabas ibn Rabi'i, he was one of the ones that wrote a letter to Imam al-Husayn, this person, this person, this person. And he says, okay, his price, imagine this. He looks at these names, he says, his price is this many dinar. His price is this many thousand dirham. His price will be this many dinar. He knew the price of every single person on that list. It's not a small thing that 30,000 Kufans gave bay'ah to Muslim ibn Aqil, and 30,000 stood in Karbala to kill Imam al-Husayn from Kufa alone. Most were from Kufa, not from Sham. He knew the price of every single one of them. And how short-sighted or how short-memoried they were. That Shibas ibn Rabi'i is one of the people that writes a letter to Imam al-Husayn. And after the killing of Imam al-Husayn, 40 masajid were built in Kufa لِفَرْحَةِ الْقَتْلِ الْحُسَيْنِ, in the happiness of the killing of Imam al-Husayn. 40 masajid, and one of them was the masjid of Shibas ibn Rabi'i. This is what it means, an-nas abid al-dunya. Everyone has a price. Everyone has a price. Until the point that they are willing to accept shahada. If one is not willing to give everything in the way of the hujjah, they will always be bought out. They will always have a price. If you are not willing, like in the ziyarah of the Imam of our time in Mufatih, there is a line in there that says, وَهُوَ أَهْدِي إِلَيْكَ وَمِثَاقِي لَدَيْكَ, and this is my ahad to you, and this is my covenant towards you, O my Imam. فَأَبْذَلُ نَفْسِي وَمَالِي وَوَلَدِي وَجَمِيعَ مَا خَوَّلَنِي رَبِّي بَيْنَ يَدَيْكَ. Says, O Allah, O Imam, this is my covenant to you, that I will sacrifice everything, myself, my children, my wealth, everything that God has placed at my disposal in my hands, I will sacrifice it for you. When a person reaches that maqam, then they can't be bought. But any time before that, they have a price. And the enemies know that price. Ibn Ziyad buys out every single one of them. Such that the fourth Imam says that all of them there in Karbala, يَتَقَرَّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ, they wanted to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala بِدَمِهِ, by spilling his blood. They thought they were doing an act of worship. The same people that invited Imam al-Husayn, the same people that said al-ajal, al-ajal, the same people that raised their hands and said al-ajal, al-ajal, Imam, come quickly, were the first to lift their swords to try and kill him. There is no greater lesson than that for us than this. That those individuals also said al-ajal. I also say al-ajal. Those people there were drowned in the love of the dunya. I also am drowned in the love of the dunya. Those people there had left the sunnah of the Prophet, and bid'ah had become common, as per the letter of Imam al-Husayn to the people of Basra. عَلَى وَإِنَّ سُنَّةَ قَدْ أُمِيتَتْ وَإِنَّ الْبِدْعَةَ قَدْ أُحْيِيَتْ. That the sunnah of the Prophet has been killed. Innovation has become rife in society. How much of the sunnah of the Prophet do I follow? How much bid'ah have I introduced into the deen? There are parallels to be drawn. Amir al-Mu'mineen tells Harith Hamadani, says, Harith, history repeats itself. History repeats itself. The actors change. but the themes remain the same. Be wary of what happened previously. Look at what happened to those people. Someone like Ubaidullah Hurra Jofi saying to the Imam, Imam, you take my horse, you take my sword. I can't come with you. I can't come on your mission. And I gave the example, I'm sure here in Canada, that we often do the same thing. Well, Ubaidullah Hurra Jofi, the Imam approaches him, says, come and join me. Ubaidullah Hurra Jofi says, and Imam says to him, I guarantee you the shafa'ah of my grandfather on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And Ubaidullah Hurra Jofi says to the Imam, I know you are on haqq, but I can't come with you. Here is my horse, here is my sword. They are two of the best. Take them for your cause. And the Imam says to him, we don't need your horse and your sword, we need you. He says, I can't come. I can't come. He said that then. How much do I do for the cause of the Imam now? It's much easier to write a check and say, here you go, here's my donation. But don't ask me to come early and vacuum the center and prepare everything. I'm not willing to give myself. I'm willing to give donations. I'm willing to do that, but I'm not willing to put the effort in myself. Someone else can do that. Ubaidullah Hurra Jofi was doing exactly the same thing. He was giving a donation to the cause of the Imam. He was saying, but I won't be active in your cause. History repeats itself. As long as the religion is good to us according to our own beliefs, we keep it. But the moment it goes against something that I like to do, so we're like, oh, you know, God, we need to reform this. Oh, these marajih, they don't understand any of this. Oh, the resident alim is too old. Oh, this. Because it doesn't suit us. We will try and tear down the establishment or something that has been established, but not to look to create something to complement. We're very good at tearing down. You know, yesterday someone asked the question in the Q&A that, you know, how do we fix our majalis programs, the style that we're doing it in, and this, you know, sometimes the language we don't understand, and the way of matam and all of this. And I said to them there, I said, why would you tear down something that's already working? You have 28 wiladat and shahadat, the 10 days of Muharram, and the 30 days of Shahr Ramadan. That doesn't even make up 100 days in the year. So I go, after those 100 days, those Thursday, and then the 52 Thursday nights in between. For that, less than 100 days, you want to tear down everything and rechange it. What about the 265 other days? The problem is I don't want to put the effort in. The nafs is lazy. The nafs doesn't want to put the effort in. I want what I want, but I want someone else to do it. And that's what Ubaidullah Hurra Jofi was doing. He was saying, look, yes, Husayn, what you're doing is good. I don't like Yazid as well. Here's my donation. You go on with it, but I'm not joining you. And after Sayyid al-Shuhada is killed, he goes and he joins Mukhtar. And then when he's with Mukhtar, he doesn't like that, so he goes and joins Mus'ab ibn Zubayr. He's with Mus'ab ibn Zubayr, he doesn't like that, he goes and makes his own army. Eventually he gets to the point where he jumps in the Furat and commits suicide and kills himself. Where he could have been and where he ended up. Because of what? Hubb al-dunya. Ultimately, Hubb al-dunya. Karbala showed that if you want to ascend towards immortality, then you must learn to strip away all those things that attach you to the mortal realm, that attach you to this realm. Zuhair ibn Qayn did it. Zuhair wasn't even a Shia. When Imam al-Husayn met him along the way, and Zuhair was saying, I was trying to get away from Husayn alayhi salam. I didn't want any part of this revolution of Husayn. And so every place he would stop, I would move my caravan. Eventually we were forced to stay in one place. The messenger of Imam al-Husayn comes, says, Zuhair ibn Qayn, Husayn ibn Ali has requested an audience with you. Zuhair says, tell the son of Rasulullah I'll come and see him shortly. He says, no, you don't understand, Zuhair. Husayn is already standing outside the tent waiting for you. Zuhair ibn Qayn stands up, he goes outside. History doesn't narrate what they spoke about. It just says the moment that Zuhair returned, it was as if Nur was dripping from his face. He turned to his wife, he said, you go back to Kufa. I've divorced you in the way of Allah, go back to Kufa. He says to his kinsman, go, take my wife back to her family in Kufa. You also all return. They say, Zuhair, where are you going? He says, as for me, don't ask me. I'm going to go and give my life for Aba Abdullah. And that's why on the day of Ashura, when he gives his khutbah on the plains of Karbala, they turn to him and they say, Zuhair, awalastu Uthmaniya. Zuhair, you are of the Uthmani mazhab. You are with Muawiyah in Siffin. What are you doing with Husayn here in Karbala? He says, no, I was wrong. I have found truth. Stripped away everything. On the other side was Umar ibn Sa'ad. Imam, he said, I have houses. Imam said, we'll give you a house in Mahalla Bani Hashim in Medina. He said, but they're giving me money. He says, we'll give you all the money that you want. He says, I'm afraid they'll attack my family. He says, we will protect your family. We're in the area of Bani Hashim. He says, but they're giving me the governorship of Ray. Imam says, that we will not give you. That we will not give you. Imam covered everything. But in reality, that hubb ad-dunya was too much. It's that fear of death, that fear of dying, of detaching from the dunya. That's how much we're attached to the world, that we're so afraid of death. We're so afraid. The last 2 years showed us exactly this. We ran away from different situations. We distanced ourselves. We wore masks upon masks, and we were sanitizing everything and anything in sight. But fundamentally, and I'm not talking down about all the regulations and stuff, but fundamentally, what was the fear? Because there was fear, right? The fear was what? It wasn't catching COVID or having the flu-like symptoms. The fear was death. Yet the Holy Quran says, قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ مِنْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مُلَاقِيكُمْ. Tell them this death that they run from, it will hunt them down and meet them whether they like it or not. So why is it that they attach themselves so much to this mortal realm? That's not to say that one doesn't live in the dunya. No, they live in the dunya, because the dunya is the training ground for the akhirah. They use everything in the dunya for the benefits of their akhirah. If they have love for their wife, for their family, their children, it is because of the akhirah that they love their children. If they're working because Allah has given them tawfiq. Everything is qurbatan ilallah in their mind. I'm doing everything to get closer to Allah. That's how now the dunya becomes a place where you live in it, but you are not abd of it. That's where one realizes and understands what Imam al-Husayn was saying. كَأَنَّ الدُّنْيَا لَمْ تَكُنْ وَكَأَنَّ الْآخَرَ لَمْ تَزَلْ. His last letter to the youth of Bani Hashim. Know that the dunya is something that shall be annihilated, and the akhirah is that shall remain. But those individuals that are abid al-dunya, those that are hur, you have seen what they can do. Even today you remember all of those that were alongside Imam al-Husayn, each of them hur, each of them free. They were not abd of the dunya. But you see what the abd of the dunya can do? The atrocities that were committed upon Ali Muhammad in the land of Karbala. One atrocity after another. One dhulm after another. What dhulm was not committed upon the daughters of Ali and Zahra? What dhulm was not committed towards Abu Abdullah and his companions? A nation that is abd of this dunya is willing to go to such extents that a 6-month-old child is nothing to them. And Imam al-Husayn stands in front of them holding the child in his hands. He says, أَتَرَوْنَ كَيْفَ يَتَلَزَّى عَطَشًا. Do you not see how my child's body shakes from thirst? Do you not see how my child's body shakes from thirst? And at that moment, Harmala is already fires the arrow strikes the neck of Ali Asghar. And in Ziyarat Nahiya, your Imam says, Assalamu ala al-tifl al-radi' mazbuh min al-uzn ila al-udhn. My salams be upon that child that was slaughtered from ear to ear. And the Maqtal says, and the boy was kicking his hands and feet in the same way that when you slaughter a bird and the bird begins to flutter, Ali Asghar was fluttering in the hands of Abi Abdullah. This dhulm that went upon the daughters of Ali and Zahra, upon the children of Imam al-Husayn, that they hunted down the children on Asr Ashur, when they began to burn the tent and the children ran. Many children were found by Zainab and Kulthum on Sham-e Ghariban with marks of horses' hooves on their backs, meaning that they had been running away and they chased them and trampled them under the hooves of their horses. Many children died along the way. From Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. Look at all the small graves that are along the route of the children of Bani Hashim that died along the way. All those atrocities that were committed. How it is that these children stayed alive. How it is that the daughter of Abi Abdullah stayed alive so long. 4 years old, and she's seeing her father beheaded. She runs and she lays on the broken chest of her father, head removed from the body, and she hears the wasiyah of her father, that Sakina, when you go back to Medina, tell my Shias, Shi'ati, that whenever you drink cold water, remember me. أو سمعتم بغريب أو قتيل فاندبوني. Oh my Shias, whenever you hear about someone that was killed lonely and thirsty, then remember me, do not bow over me. Shi'ati laytakum fi yawmi ashura جميعا تنزلوني. says شيعتي أو سمعتم بغريب أو قتيل فاندبوني. You hear about someone killed all alone, then cry for me. فأنا السبت الذي بغير جرم قتلوني. For I am the son of Rasulullah that was killed for no crime. وبجلد الخير بعد قتل عمدا فسحقوني. And I am the one whose body was trampled after his death under the hooves of the horses. Then he says, Shi'ati laytakum fi yawmi ashura jami'an tanzuruni. Oh my Shias, how I wish you were there on the day of Ashura, and you would have seen what? Ya Aba Abdullah, كيف استسقي لطفلي فأبواي يرحموني. How I took my 6-month-old child out, and what mercy they showed me, Husayn. The daughter of Abi Abdullah, she saw all of this dhulm along the way until she reaches Sham. That Sham was difficult for Ali Muhammad. A Sham where they set fire to wood and threw it on the daughters of Ali and Batul. They boiled water and they threw boiling water on the daughters of the Rasul. These difficulties Sakina saw. And that night in that prison, in her dream, she sees her father. Opens her eyes, begins to cry, Ya Abata, Ya Abata. They try to make her quiet, but she won't. She begins to cry. The women begin crying. The news reaches Yazid that they will not stop crying in the prison. Yazid says, give them the head of Husayn. Do not think that this was an act of mercy by Yazid. Who gives the severed head of a father to a 4-year-old daughter? This is not an act of mercy. They brought the head of Abi Abdullah in a tray covered with a cloth. They said, Sakina, come, take this. She says, I didn't want food, I want my father. When they pull away that cloth, imagine a 4-year-old girl is presented with the severed head of her father. But she's so madluma. She runs forward. She takes the severed head of her father. Abata, Abata, man alladhi aytamani ala sighri sinni. Father, tell me you orphaned me at such a young age. Abata, man alladhi qata'a waridayk. Father, tell me who cut the veins of your neck. Abata, laytani kuntu amya wa lam ara ra'saka hakadha. Father, how I wish I was blind on this day, that I would not have seen your head in this state. She lays down with the head of Abu Abdullah. She places her lips on the lips of Imam al-Husayn. She tells him of all the difficulties. Father, they whipped us along the way. Father, they slapped us along the way. Father, no one was slapped more than our aunt Zainab. That whenever they wanted to slap us, Zainab would stand in the way and say, don't slap the children of Husayn, slap Zainab instead. Says, oh father, they did this to us and that to us. A short while later, the riwayah says, a voice was heard from the head, Ilayya, Ilayya, fa'ana laka bil intadhar. Oh my daughter, come to me, for I have been waiting for you. The girl falls silent. Sajjad alayhi salam comes. He sees the head on one side, Sakina lying on the other. He places his hand on the arm of his sister. He calls out, oh Auntie Zainab, my sister has left this world. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This child's madhlumiyah doesn't end there. If the dhulm on her ended there, we would say that that was enough. They say some years later she appeared in the dream of an alim. Said, Alim, my grave is filling with water, move my body. He says he saw the dream for 3 days. For 3 days he saw this dream. He realized on the 3rd day that this was a sign, a message. So he gathered some women and he sent his daughters to go and excavate the grave of Sayyidah Sakina and to move the body. And when they excavated the grave, they found indeed water had filled the grave. So they moved the body away from where the water was. When the daughters of this alim returned, they were wailing and crying. They said, Father, he asked them, why are you crying? They said, Father, you told us Sakina was madhluma. Father, you told us that they did a lot of dhulm on Sakina. Father, you told us that she was oppressed. But Father, you never told us that when they buried her, her ropes were still tied to her body. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم يا حسين.
Ya Husayn.
या हुसैन। लाशें इधर हैं और उधर से जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। लाशें इधर हैं और उधर से जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। लाशें इधर हैं और उधर से जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। नेज़ों पे थी रिदाएं, खुले सर थी बीबियां, नेज़ों पे थी रिदाएं, खुले सर थी बीबियां, बेगुस्लो बेकफन थे 72 जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। लाशें इधर हैं और उधर से जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। टुकड़े नहीं थे हजरत कासिम की लाश के, टुकड़े नहीं थे हजरत कासिम की लाश के, बिखरा हुआ था सूरह कौसर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। शब भर सिपाह शाम की पीती रही शराब, शब भर सिपाह शाम की पीती रही शराब, सहरा में सर हुसैन का रखकर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। लाशें इधर हैं और उधर से जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर। शह को नियों के बल गए चलते हुए वहाँ, शह को नियों के बल गए चलते हुए वहाँ, अकबर का खूब बहा जहाँ अकबर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं असगर जमीन पर, अकबर कहीं पे है कहीं रोने के लिए
काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम। तू शहनशाहे दर्द है, तू शहनशाहे दर्द है, बतला रही है शाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम। चला बेकसों का कारवां, बीमार लोगों नातवा है संग सरे उरियां, शहला फता की बेटियां करबो बला के दश्त में, करबो बला के दश्त में, बरपा हुआ कोराम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा। मस्तूरों में एक मर्द है, गैरा से चेहरा जर्द है, करबल की जमी गर्द है, ज़ैनब का दिल में दर्द है, रोता है सर झुका के, रोता है सर झुका के, करता नहीं कलाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा। ज़ैनब पुकारे बेवतन भाई मेरा है बेकफन, कर दे इसको दफन, मेरे हाथों में बांधी रस्सें, है कैसे सुना होगा, है कैसे सुना होगा, बीमार ने पैगाम होने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रोने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा। मुश्किल थी बड़ी वो घड़ी, दरबार में ज़ैनब खड़ी, शाबीर के ला पर छड़ी, सजाद ने पहनी कड़ी, दरबार यजीदी के, दरबार यजीदी के, लर्ज़े थे दरोबाम होने के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम रो के लिए, काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम। जिंदान सिया पोश है तन्हाई किया गोश है, आबिद कहे ना होश है, दिल टूटा है खामोश है, अरे उम्मत ने सकीना को, उम्मत ने सकीना को दिया मौत का इनाम, रोने लिए काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा नाम, रो के लिए काफ़ी है सजाद तेरा। तू शहनशाह दर्द है, तू शहनशाह दर्द है, बतला रही है शाम। रो के लिए काफी है सजाद तेरा नाम, रोने के लिए काफी है। जिंदा की सोया खाक पर, आदिल लहू पो शाक पर, चर्चे हुए अफलाक पर, सुल्तानी लो लाक पर। हैं जिन्नो मलायक भी, हैं जिन्नो मलायक भी, सजाद के खुदाम। हाय हाय ज़ैनब, हाय शाम, हाय ज़ैनब, हाय शाम, हाय सब मातम कीजिएगा साथ। हाय ज़ैनब, हाय शबीर की वो लाडली, शबीर की वो लाडली, सीने पे जो शाके पली, सीने पे जो शाके पली, जिसकी अबाबन में जली, जिसकी अबाबन में जली, मुंह पे तमाचों के निशान। हाय ज़ैनब, हाय शाम, हाय ज़ैनब, हाय शाम। मौला ईमान या हसन या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन।
क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है अब्बास के बाजू या बाबा का सीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में। कानों से छिने गौहर और आग थी दामन में, घबराई हुई बच्ची ये कहती रही रन में, है कोई जो मुझको पहुंचा दे मदीना, क्या ढूंढ रही जंगल में सकीना, क्या ढूंढ रही रन से अली असगर को ले आओ मेरे बाबा, सोना नजर आता है भाई का मेरे झूला, असगर के बगैर अब मुझको नहीं जीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है। ये शाम के जिंदा में दीवारों को तकती है, क्या सोच के ये जाने दिन रात सिसकती है, बिछड़ी है चचा से जब से ये हसीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है। दुनिया से सिधारे हैं भाई जो मेरे प्यासे, जब तक नहीं लौटेंगे अम्मू मेरे दरिया से, मैंने ए फूफी जान पानी नहीं पीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना। अब्बास के बाजू या बाबा का सीना, क्या ढूंढ रही है जंगल में सकीना। हुसैन, हुसैन, हुसैन।